What is up, you guys? This is Mini Superheroes Today. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at LEGO Star Wars set 7965, the Millennium Falcon. This set came out in July of 2011 and was available until December of 2014, so this is definitely a throwback review for me. And back then, it retailed for $139.99, but now you could find it used for about $100, depending on if it has all the figures in the box and whatever. But if you want to pick this set up, be sure to visit the link in the description below. Now that said, this set was for ages 9 to 14 years old, had 1,254 pieces, and came with 6 really cool minifigures. So we're gonna take a look at this entire ship. Now, I did get this set back in about 2012, if I remember correctly. My mom surprised me and got me this. And the cool thing is this is the second time I got to build it. I still have the one that my mom got me, but it's at my parents' house, and I don't live there anymore. And I recently picked this up on Facebook Marketplace with a couple other sets for 120 bucks. So to get this for less than retail all these years later and get this nostalgic building experience, I had a blast. So let's take a look at these minifigures, then the inside, and then as always, we'll zoom out and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, now before we break down these figures individually, I did want to take a look at them all lined up here. Now, as you can see, it came with 6 minifigures, and it's a really nice assortment. However, I do think that Darth Vader really didn't need to come in this set. It coulda, shoulda, woulda been C-3PO and R2-D2. That way you could have had the entire Millennium Falcon crew from Episode 4 all in one set. But that said, Darth Vader was still a cool inclusion, and we'll take a look at him in just a minute here. But I did want to point out the style of these figures too. Now, it wouldn't be too terribly long after this set was discontinued that we would get the current version of Chewbacca that we have now. And then everybody else kind of got updated too. Now, the big thing to point out is the style of everybody's eyes. You've got these black eyes with the little white dots in them. And of course, you know, that's still kind of typical for how LEGO works. But in my mind, this was really like a transition from the LEGO Star Wars figures that would just have like black pupils into what we have today, which are obviously more detailed than these figures, but, you know, these figures were like a good transition era. So I just wanted to point that out, that this was a really interesting time for LEGO Star Wars. It wasn't quite as detailed as we have today, but it wasn't quite as bland as what we used to get in the early 2000s. Alright, so here we've got Luke Skywalker, and I always really like this figure. It's really interesting. He's got no printing on his back there. Like I said, transition years, right? But I always felt like his angry face didn't really line up with the Luke that I remember from A New Hope. You know, of course he had his moments, but I thought of him being a little bit more, I don't know, youthful than angry. But the cool feature with this figure is when you flip his head around, he actually has the blast shield printed on there, which is pretty interesting. You know, it's got that blast shield down, and it's like when he's training on the Falcon. And we'll take a look at that feature, which is in the Falcon, in just a minute. Here we've got Ben Kenobi, a really great version of this character that looks awesome. It's interesting that the hood is a lighter brown than the cape is, like the colors really don't match. But yeah, it's pretty cool. He's only got one side to his head here. Double-sided heads were not super common yet, and like I said, it's just really interesting to look at these transition era figures. So you can see he's got some nice torso printing there, pretty basic lightsaber, like, you know, like we always do. No leg printing and no printing on the back of the torso either. So basically, that's what we're looking at. Here we've got Han Solo, and I remember when I got this set back in 2012, I really loved this figure and thought, man, I don't know how LEGO Star Wars could get any better than this, because this was such a huge improvement from what I had as a kid, even before 2012, and now the new Han Solos are like blowing this one out of the water. So in any case, he's got some great leg printing there, pretty cool. Again, leg printing was not super duper common yet. Now pretty much every LEGO Star Wars figure gets some level of leg printing, and at least the main characters do. The torso's nice, and it's just a really great looking figure. No printing on the back, of course, and of course a gun that was not a stud shooter, so that's always cool too. Here we've got Chewbacca with no eye printing in there. Pretty interesting, but again, very vintage looking. And it's kind of weird to call this vintage. I mean, the set, technically when it debuted, that would make the set 8 years old as of filming this. But it's still a really cool figure, and I love these Chewbaccas. Not to say that the new design isn't good either, but man, I'm just filled with so much nostalgia looking at these figures. Here we've got Princess Leia with a really great hair mold piece with the buns, of course, and that can be flipped around to show a, kind of discerning, angry face on this side, and then a little bit more of a optimistic smirk on this side. So, pretty cool, great looking figure, and a great addition to this set. It really would be incomplete without Princess Leia. And then, of course, we have Darth Vader, and this is really my favorite era of Darth Vader figures. We've got a nice, crisp cape here, the papery capes, and before the spongy capes, a gray head here with some scarring on it, of course. No printing on the back, and no printing on the back of Darth Vader either. But we've got the vintage-style helmet, a really nice kind of reflective silver torso there, and a really, really great representation of Darth Vader. And once again, no leg printing. So, really cool to look at this era of Star Wars figures. Now, let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at the set and all the features that it has to offer. Alright, so moving on to the set itself, it's no secret that this is an absolute unit of a set. Now, it's really, really massive, as you can see here, and on the bottom of the set, it's actually a pretty nice detailed little build on the bottom here. You can see that there's a little pivoting gun right here that is on a hinge, so it can move up and down. And then you'll also see that there are some landing gears. So we've got 4 landing gears, so that if you set this down, it actually doesn't sit on the bottom, it sits on those landing gears. Now also we've got 4 red flick fire missiles here that you could flick straight like that and they would come out. So that's pretty cool, and that's pretty much all of the details for the underside of this set. So that's really great. Now you can see that on the back here, we've got these 6 stickers here on these like turbine style pieces. And then of course on the back, just like most other Falcons, there's a big long blue Technic tube piece that runs along the back for the engine. Or I guess the motor, or I don't know what you would call that. You Star Wars geeks can tell me. I used to know that stuff when I was younger, so much younger than today, but I don't anymore. Now, as for play features on the top and outside of this ship, you can see that this turret spins 360 and it moves up and down. It's basically just exactly the same as what's on the bottom, but just a little bit bigger. Then you can see that there's the radar dish over here that spins and moves. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, we've got the cockpit, which you can see that these pieces here lock into these jumper pieces here, and you can actually fit 2 minifigures on the inside. Now, one downside is, we've seen as many as 4 people sitting down in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon in the movie, but you can only fit 2 in here. So it's kind of cool that you can pull out the cockpit too, so that you have an easier way to put your figures on that board. But then you just put that there, and it's all back to normal. Now up front here, you can see that there's a little opening at the mouth of the ship, if you will, and this is how we start to open the ship. So this part comes up just like that, and then all of these pieces lift straight up, as you can see I'm doing here, and it gives you the interior of the ship. Now, as far as Millennium Falcons go, this isn't really anything new. A lot of the Millennium Falcons have worked in a similar fashion to this for you to get inside to the play features, but speaking of that, let me adjust the camera angle so we can take a look inside. Alright guys, I'm going handheld here so we can see all of the details on the inside, so forgive my hand if it's not quite as steady as it was on the tripod. But you can see here we've got some gunning computers, which I would assume, control this gun to some varying level. You can seat some minifigures there and have them play on the computers. Here we've got the board. I don't remember the name of this game from, episode 4, but you can see that you can set some minifigures there to play. As mentioned before, too, I really wish that C-3PO and R2-D2 came in this set. It would really complete this, but in any case, it's still cool. Now, moving over here, there is a little smuggler's compartment here that opens up, and you could actually put a minifigure down inside there to hide, which is pretty cool. You could, set Princess Leia in there. Of course, if I took her gun out, it'd be easier for her to lay in there, but you could basically see how that feature works. Over here, we've got 2 beds that you can put a minifigure on, so you put their feet on these back studs, just like that. So you can actually put 2 figures at the same time laying down there, resting up for your next Star Wars mission. Over here we've got a little engine unit of some sort, and then of course we've got these turbines in the back. And there's a little white door that opens up there, so you could put something inside the engine, maybe like a component to change out or something. Now over here you can see that Luke has his blast shield helmet on that we looked at from before, and of course he's training with Obi-Wan here using this training droid, so that's pretty cool. We've got a loose gun there, but there's Obi-Wan and Luke training with that droid. There's some miscellaneous tools right here, and whenever Luke doesn't have the helmet on, there's a little piece right there that you can stick that helmet on. Now, in this little side hallway here, you can see that you could push down that little landing gear. However, you can't really access it that well. Like, you can't even put a minifigure up there because it doesn't have enough clearance off the ground from those landing gears that we mentioned previously before. So that's what's there. And then there's just some empty space back here. I suppose that you can lift this piece off to access right here. I don't know that it's designed to be that way, but, you know, if you are having an adventure and you needed to play in that area for some reason or another, you certainly could do that. And then, of course, all of these panels close back up, and you can see what the Falcon looks like closed. So we're almost there. And there we go. Okay, so it's completely closed. You do have to put them down in a certain order, though. So it's completely closed, and that is the Millennium Falcon. So like I said, this is a pretty massive set. It's a great looking set too, though, and let's go ahead and zoom out, and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, guys, so final thoughts on this set. I gotta be honest, I think that this is the best minifigure scale Millennium Falcon that has ever been made. Now, the reason I say that is, of course, we got a really detailed one with Solo, we got a really good one with The Force Awakens, and it looks like we'll be getting another pretty decent one with Episode 9. But the thing is, guys, this is the OG Falcon, as far as I'm concerned. You know, I really only care for the original trilogy. I like the prequels too, but the sequel trilogy and all these spin-off movies, I really personally just don't care about them. So for me, this is my Millennium Falcon, and having it here in LEGO is super cool, and I really, really love this build. And, you know, I'm saying that without the lens of nostalgia. I think it's a great build. I think it was absolutely worth the price, and if you can pick this up for around $100 now, I highly advise doing so. So like I said, be sure to check out the link in the description below where you can pick this up, and drop a comment below and let me know what you think of this Falcon. If you had it, let me know, and if you don't have it, the discussion I want to have is, what do you think the best LEGO minifigure scale Millennium Falcon has been so far? So be sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you guys on the next video, and until next time, build on. If you liked what you saw and you liked what you heard, feel free to click that subscribe button for more LEGO content coming in the near future. So, thanks for tuning in to today's video, and until next time, build on.